The 30 seconds that changed England. On the 15th of June, 1381, a fishmonger turned mayor of London rode out of the city walls at the sight of a 14-year-old king to face an army of 50,000 rebels. Within an hour, the leader of that rebellion was dead in the dirt, killed at close range by a man who had spent his entire adult life selling salted herring on the Thames quayside. His name was William Walworth. The boy king he saved was Richard II. The rebel he killed was Wat Tyler. The revolt that died with him was the Peasants Revolt, the largest popular uprising in medieval English history. Walworth carried a dagger, not a sword. He fought in close, within reach of the man he killed. He was by every chronicle that survived terrified, and he did it anyway. This is the story of the most consequential 30 seconds in 14th-century English politics, told through the life of the merchant who lived it. The man before the mayor, William Walworth, was born in County Durham around the 1320s. He came south to apprentice in the London fish trade and rose through the Worshipful Company of Fishmongers, one of the most powerful guilds in the city. By the 1360s, he was lending money to Edward III and John of Gaunt. The crown was bankrupt from the 100 Years' War, and the treasury survived on loans from city merchants like him. By 1374, he was Lord Mayor of London. In October 1380, the city elected him a second time. He did not know it yet, but he had just accepted the office that would change his life 8 months later. If these first few revelations are already hitting hard, do the video a solid. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and click the notification bell. It helps more people discover content like this. Now, let's get back into it. The poll tax that broke England. To understand what Walworth walked into at Smithfield, you have to understand what English peasants were carrying in the spring of 1381. The kingdom had been at war with France for 43 years. 3 plagues had cut the workforce in half. Then Parliament passed 3 poll taxes in 4 years. The third, in November 1380, was set at 12 pence per adult head, at a time when a day labourer earned 3 pence a day. Tax collectors arrived in May. In the village of Fobbing in Essex, the collector was driven out with sticks. Sudbury's mitred head was mounted on a pike on London Bridge. The 14-year-old king was in the Tower the whole time. The meeting at Mile End. That same day, the king rode out to Mile End to meet the rebels. Richard issued royal charters abolishing serfdom. Most of the Essex rebels accepted the charters and went home, but Wat Tyler had not come to Mile End. He wanted more. The next morning, Tyler demanded a second meeting at Smithfield, the open field outside the city walls, used at the time as a livestock market and execution ground. Richard agreed. The royal party that rode out was small. The Lord Mayor of London, William Walworth, rode with the king, in his civic robes, and beneath them, wearing a dagger. 30 seconds at Smithfield. What happened next survives in 3 contemporary chronicles. They agree on the shape. Tyler rode out alone on a small horse, reached out to take the king's hand, an act of familiarity the king's retinue read as insult. He called for water and rinsed his mouth in front of the boy. He demanded the abolition of all lordship except the king's, the disendowment of the church, the equal division of all property below royal rank. He wanted England restructured root and branch. A squire of the king's household made a remark Tyler took as an insult. Tyler reached for his dagger. Walworth moved. He closed the distance personally, within the length of a man's arm. He grabbed at Tyler and stabbed him in the neck with his dagger. A squire, named in some accounts as John Standish, stabbed him a second time. Tyler wheeled his horse, rode about 30 yards toward his army, and fell from the saddle into the dirt of Smithfield. The peasant army did not understand what had happened. They thought Tyler was wounded and was returning to them. They began knocking arrows. There were 50,000 of them and 15 mounted men around the king. Richard II, 14 years old, spurred his horse forward, alone, into the field. He called out, "Sirs, will you shoot your king? I will be your captain." He turned and led the rebel army northward. By the time they realized what was happening, royal forces summoned by Walworth had cordoned them off. Tyler had been carried, dying, into St. Bartholomew's Hospital. Walworth followed. He had Tyler dragged out of the bed and beheaded in the open. Tyler's head was mounted on London Bridge. The whole encounter, from Tyler's first gesture to the moment he hit the ground, had taken perhaps 30 seconds. The knighting. That same afternoon, on the field at Clerkenwell, Richard II knighted William Walworth on the spot. 5 other London aldermen were knighted alongside him, all commoners, all knighted for civilian acts in a moment that had no real medieval precedent. The phrase "first civilian ever knighted" gets attached to Walworth in popular accounts. It is not literally true. What was unprecedented was the political theater. A Lord Mayor knighted for personal violence in defense of the king, witnessed by the king, and rewarded on the field. The crown protects the men who protect it, regardless of birth. The last 4 years, the revolt collapsed within days. The Mile End charters were revoked within weeks. John Ball, the radical priest who had preached "When Adam delved and Eve span, who was then the gentleman," was tracked to Coventry and hanged, drawn, and quartered. Walworth died in his bed on June 20th, 1385, and was buried at his parish church, St. Michael Crooked Lane. The church that vanished. The church burned in the Great Fire of London in 1666. Christopher Wren rebuilt it. In 1831, the new London Bridge approach road required the demolition of every building on its line. St. Michael Crooked Lane was torn down entirely. Whatever remained of Walworth's tomb was lost. The site of the church is now under the road traffic of Monument Street. There is no grave, no tomb. The Fishmongers Company still holds, at Fishmongers Hall, what it calls Walworth's dagger. Most modern historians believe it is a Tudor-era weapon, retrofitted to the legend. The company has never permitted destructive testing. His statue stands on the facade of Fishmongers Hall, but the hall itself was demolished in 1831, the same year as his church, and rebuilt afterward. The statue is on a building that did not exist when he lived. The man who saved a king ended up scattered across replicas, a recarved statue, a possibly fake dagger, a wall plaque marking a church that no longer exists. Let me know in the comments if you had heard of William Walworth before this and what details surprised you the most. Thank you for watching. If you want more content like this, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and click the notification bell so you never miss out. Let us know in the comments below. Walworth was a fishmonger who killed a rebel leader in front of a 14-year-old king and was knighted on the spot. Do you think his actions saved England from civil war? Or do you think he just killed the man who might have ended serfdom 400 years earlier than it eventually fell? And don't forget to share this video with someone who needs to see it. Hey, before you go, look at your screen right now. See that first video element that is going to appear right there? That's the previous episode of the Complete Codex series, in case you missed it. And that second one right next to it, that's the complete binge-worthy Complete Codex playlist waiting for you. Trust me, this is one of those series you'll want to watch end to end. Every forgotten name, every buried story, every life that history almost lost. Go ahead and click both of them right now and keep the deep dive going. You know you want to. Thanks for watching.